Have you heard this quote? Don't complain about the snow on your neighbor's roof when your own doorstep is not clean. What does that mean? Don't point fingers at others unless you are perfect yourself. Clearly, the US does not know about it or pretends to not know about it. What makes me say that? This report. It was released by the US Department of State on Monday. It targets India. It lists significant human rights abuses in India that occurred in 2022. Let's look at some of these cases: unlawful killings, disappearances, torture, and other related abuses. It has accused the Indian government of serious corruption, of lack of accountability, and the list goes on. And now have a look at this report. This is from 2022. It says the US has been monitoring human rights abuses in India. This is what the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, had said at the time. I'm quoting: "We are monitoring some recent concerning developments in India, including a rise in human rights abuses by some government, police, and prison officials." Why am I showing you all of this? Well, to highlight America's hypocrisy. Is the United States really in a position to raise questions on India regarding this matter? What about its own state? The former president of the country on the verge of being arrested, women do not have the basic choice regarding their own bodies. What can be more basic than that? States are considering death penalties on abortions. Hate crimes are on a rise. Police are being sentenced for murders. 6-year-olds are killing people by accident. And what do we even say about the arbitrary terrorism in schools? You see, we are talking about a country where you don't know when you would get shot. You could be at a music festival and bullets could come showering upon you. You could be grocery shopping or just walking around in your neighborhood and you might never make it back home. Especially if you belong to a minority. You might drop off your child at school and never see them again. So why is America fixating on India's human rights? What about caring about its own? I'll tell you why. Because the US thinks too highly of itself, that it can lecture the world on human rights, that it is above all laws. And I'll back my statement with facts. You see, it's no news that US military bases are spread across the world, but do you know the exact figure? And more importantly, do you know what happens in these bases? Well, the US controls about 750 bases in at least 80 countries worldwide. And these troops think they are beyond the law of the land. They commit all sorts of crimes. Have a look at these reports. A US Marine raped South Korean teenager. Another one raped a 14-year-old in Japan. A corporal strangled a restaurant hostess in Seoul. But the US loves to excuse these crimes. But how much can it possibly really excuse? What about the hate crimes perpetrated by its own police forces? Do I need to repeat the racism cruising through the country? The number of black people killed by the police for no clear reason? The US police shot nearly 1,100 people dead last year. 225 of them were black, 120 were Hispanic. The country calls itself a melting pot of all ethnicities, but does nothing or next to nothing to safeguard these people. And instead of focusing on its own state of affairs, it chooses to lecture others over human rights. Why release such reports for India? Why not fix its own system first? Why not count its own violations? We are now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.